Hi to all my followers. I appreciate you guys for watching my videos and a huge thanks for helping the channel reach 1,000 subscriptions.
Oh my God!
Once upon a time, in the age of the Eternal Cylinder, there lived a family of little creatures called the Trebhum. Trebhum are not the strongest, nor the fastest, and they do not have sharp teeth. They would make easy prey for the terrible force that came to their planet. But Trebhum are loyal and resourceful and very, very stubborn. It is with such a Trebhum that our story begins. One clever little creature born into a cruel world who would be instrumental in bringing prosperity to its kind. Run, something inside him said, run. The great crushing thing, the great cylinder, had stopped. Perhaps it was safe here for a little while. How quickly it learned to use its legs and its trunk. But these things were not so much learned as they were remembered. Perhaps the little Trebhum thought they were a gift from the strange voice it heard in its mind. That too was a kind of memory. Just when it was starting to get used to its legs, the food from the jumping creature gave it new ones. With the right substance as a catalyst, a Trebhum can transform and adapt to many challenges. The Trebhum was drawn to a bright light, or perhaps to the creature next to it. Except for the grass growing on the old one's head, they were very much alike. Surrounded by this light, the Trebhum knew things it had not known before. It knew the older Trebhum had carried this light for a long, long time. And it knew that now that responsibility had passed to the next generation. Yes, this young Trebhum had to carry the light to those great towers in the distance. It could have stayed here to learn many old things, but the cylinder would not allow it. Run, the inner voice said, run! The towers would not stop the cylinder unless they were activated. Quickly, the Trebhum had to step on the symbol or the cylinder would not be stopped. The voice inside the Trebhum's memories assured it that while the tower stood, the Trebhum would be safe. The power of the eternal cylinder was contained for now. This relative tranquility gave the Trebhum a chance to think about its family. Trebhum are not meant to live alone, so where were the others? It was hard for the Trebhum to know what to do or where to go. But the friendly voice suggested this was not the right way. To find your path, it said, you must follow the beam of light that emanates from the tip of the tower, and stay away from the deep waters where the old things dwell. Our young friend had found an egg, a Trebhum egg, with one of his siblings inside. The egg had been abandoned, but it could still be made to hatch. All that was needed was a source of heat. This door had been built for Trebhum. It gave them hope that in this large and dangerous world, some places had been made for them. Somehow this ancient statue transferred knowledge to the Trebhum. It was as if a memory had been stored inside it, waiting for someone to absorb it. And as soon as this knowledge had entered their minds, the Trebhum realized that there was a great library of information hidden away in the web of their memories. But why was the knowledge of a specific ingredient placed here in this Trebhum made of stone? Inside the cave, the Trebhum found a living elder. It had been waiting in this chamber for a long, long time. The elder told them it was happy to see some friends before the cylinder came. It said, "You are young, so you never knew the time when our people could shapeshift at will. We Trebhum are inheritors of a vast tree of abilities passed on to all future Trebhum. But this power is being taken away. Beware the servants of the cylinder. They will seek to hurt you at every opportunity, and they have the power to rob you of your abilities. But if you persevere, one day you will find a way to protect yourselves from their evil light. Farewell, my brave friends. I fear I am too old and tired to join you. May you find a way to prosper in this time of struggles. It was not easy to leave the cave, but the elder had urged them to go forward. Suddenly they felt the weight of their many tasks, to find their Trebhum siblings, to restore the powers their people had lost, and it all seemed a little daunting. But even when they are afraid, Trebhum are stubborn. The cylinder resumed its destruction. Nothing could stop it forever. They needed to roll to safety, to find another tower to protect them quickly. The Trebhum found themselves almost as lost as they had been in the beginning. But the voice in their memories comforted them. It was only natural to be confused, it said. They had been born into a strange, broken world, cut off from the history of their ancestors. Everyone was a little lost these days. What mattered was to keep going, to keep looking for answers, to keep carrying the light they held within them, the light that stopped the cylinder. In this strange, eerie temple, the Trebhum felt something stir in their memories. There was a great power in this place. Something from the days when even the elders were young. Perhaps it could help them. Trebhum were disoriented for a moment. Something new had entered their memories and they needed to make sense of it. It seemed to be a map. And on this map, a location had been marked. If they understood correctly, there was some manner of serpent, a guardian, a greater being of some kind, somehow linked to a safe haven. Could they find refuge there? Their ancestors must have created this map for a reason. What manner of strange beast lurked behind the cylinder? The Trebhum were deeply unsettled by this new mystery. But though some part of them was curious, they were certain it would be best not to find out. As their fear faded, the Trebhum started feeling weak and tired. With all the excitement and adventure, they'd neglected their most basic needs. The sound of an empty stomach reminded them that survival requires more than escaping from danger. You also have to eat. Luckily, one of the many gifts of the Trebhum is the capacity to store food in their bodies. But they still need to digest it to gain the vital energy that gives them strength. And for such small creatures, they do require rather a lot of food. Fortunately, the savannah was rich in flora and fauna which would satisfy their little bellies without necessarily triggering a mutation. The Trebhum felt a great power flowing through this cave, but they were not afraid. The power felt familiar, even friendly. These glowing structures were the work of their ancestors. was this strange being? Half flesh, half metal? The Trebhum felt an old, distant horror, as if they remembered their own destruction. Something about this creature was very, very wrong. Trapped on all sides by deep pools of poisonous gas, the Trebhum needed to find a way to escape this monstrosity. Perhaps there was a way to use the creature's own weight to lower the bridge? One by one, the yellow light cruelly burned away the Trebhum's abilities. The Elder had warned them about the evil light of the Cylinder's servants. Now they knew what kind of creature to avoid. Cylinder roared with fury. The voice in their memories spoke with great urgency. The Trebhum had to be very careful now. The Cylinder would lash out at the land, but it would not let them run too far. To survive, they would have to stay in the eye of the storm. As frightening and surprising as this enormous creature was, the Trebhum felt a sense of relief to see it descend from the sky. This was the celestial being they'd been told to seek. Perhaps it held an answer to their troubles. As they approached the colossal creature, their optimism faded. It did not seem to like them at all. And now they realized what terrible danger they were in. If this creature guarded the way to some holy place, then that place must lie below it. And being so large, the creature most likely could not see what was in front of it, or beneath it. So perhaps the size of the Trebhum was an advantage after all. Perhaps they could reach the platform right under the serpent's head. Relieved at having bested the Guardian, the Trebhum now found themselves seeking the help they had been promised. Who would answer their questions in this place? Even with the light, the maze was difficult to traverse. Was there some clue in the structures on the walls? Was the path of sand on the ground meant to help them? Perhaps others had walked in this place long ago and tried to leave a path for those who would one day follow them. Of all the changes the Trebhum were experiencing, growing a third eye was the strangest one yet. To make things even stranger, this eye seemed to look in two directions at once, into the world and into their memories. They could use it to find in the real world any element that was contained in the web of their memories. It was truly a remarkable mutation. Encountering another elder was a happy moment. The Trebhum asked how they might survive the cylinder, and the elder replied, "I can feel your fear, little ones. Ever since this cataclysm began, we have been seeking ways to stop it. But the cylinder is relentless and indestructible. It will consume everything in its path. So, perhaps what we need to do is go behind it. I have discovered a mutation that allows us to rise into the sky. You must seek a weeping tree from which grows a special fruit that floats as it becomes ripe. It is the key to the transformation I have undergone. With it, you can use geysers to float well above the cylinder's height. My only regret is that I have grown too old and weak to help you with this task. If you find any glimmer of hope on the other side, remember me. Farewell." Sadness and fear filled the Trebhum's hearts as they left the Elder's cave. Their only path to salvation was full of uncertainty, and they could not forget the thing they had seen lurking behind the cylinder, casting a dark shadow over this glimpse of light. The Trebhum had never seen this mysterious tree the Elder spoke of. They would have to keep moving forward and hope it lay somewhere ahead. the cylinder would give them no other choice. Relieved at having bested the Guardian, the Trebhum now found themselves seeking the help they had been promised. Who would answer their questions in this place? the changes the Trebhum were experiencing, growing a third eye was the strangest one yet. To make things even stranger, this eye seemed to look in two directions at once, into the world and into their memories. They could use it to find in the real world any element that was contained in the web of their memories. I can feel your fear, little ones. Ever since this cataclysm began, we have been seeking ways to stop it. But the cylinder is relentless and indestructible. It will consume everything in its path. So, perhaps what we need to do is go behind it. I have discovered a mutation that allows us to rise into the sky. You must seek a weeping tree from which grows a special fruit that floats as it becomes ripe. It is the key to the transformation I have undergone. With it, you can use geysers to float well above the cylinder's height. My only regret is that I have grown too old and weak to help you with this task. If you find any glimmer of hope on the other side, remember me. Farewell. It was truly a remarkable mutation. Sadness and fear filled the Trebhum's hearts as they left the Elder's cave. Their only path to salvation was full of uncertainty, and they could not forget the thing they had seen lurking behind the cylinder, casting a dark shadow over this glimpse of light. The Trebhum had never seen this mysterious tree the Elder spoke of. They would have to keep moving forward and hope it lay somewhere ahead. The cylinder would give them no other choice. They were still nowhere near the mysterious tree they were supposed to find. But the voice in their memories encouraged them. It was wise in matters of root and rock, and it could sense the soil under their feet changing. Step by step, they were getting closer. What was this monstrous creature? Was this one of the cylinder's servants? The ones the elder had warned them of? Its very form terrified the Trebhum. Even the voice and their memories seemed frightened of it. And then, somehow, the Trebhum remembered the creature's name. It was called the Mathematician. The mathematician vanished as quickly as he had appeared, back to what? What lay behind the cylinder? Finally, the weeping trees that the elder had told them to find were within the Trebhum's grasp. But though the Trebhum were happy, they realized that they faced a new challenge. The ripe fruit were floating out of reach, and the others were enclosed in a hard shell. They would have to find a way to crack them open. Even with the ability to float, overcoming the cylinder would have to be done very carefully. What they needed was a geyser that was well positioned, close to the cylinder, when it lay still, or their plan would never work. They would have to keep looking, and meanwhile they would try not to think about what sort of monster could kill one of the flying serpents. In the dream inside the strange giant's mind, the voice that spoke to the Trebhum seemed different. It was less like a memory, more like something alive. But there were so many other voices too, lost in this place.
I remember the mountains of my home, the vast forests, the clouds hanging low overhead, the cities in the valleys where the rivers ran. I remember the faces of my children and the songs we sang when the stars rose high. But I have forgotten the names of all these things, and slowly one melts into the other. My children will become mountains, the forests will become songs, and then all will become one and be nothing.
There was something hidden in this place, and the voice wanted the Trebhum to find it.
I remember a city built in the desert in defiance of thirst. When night fell, it shone like a jewel, and even the stars envied its brightness. Poets and scientists gathered from around the world, and its great observatories scoured the sky for wisdom and beauty. That is where we first saw the new star.
Each voice was a memory, a song from a forgotten time, slowly fading. But some of these memories were Trebhum memories, memories of things that Trebhum had once been capable of. Perhaps, the voice suggested, these could be reclaimed.
I remember how our towers stretched out to the sky, yearning for the stars. They were symbols of our best and our worst. I remember our voices echoing in the canyons as we fought for change, for a world that was different. Then it came, and the towers fell, and there was no more difference. Where are our voices now? Where are our songs? I only hear one, and it is eternal.
As the memories returned to the Trebhum, old abilities stolen by the cylinder were finally restored. But there was so much more. The voice had answers, but it was weakening. Frightening as it was, the Trebhum would have to come back. This was a place of death and nothingness. There were no answers to be found here. The voice and their memories urged them to return to the lands of the living. A profound feeling of futility overcame the Trebhum. Despite having miraculously survived their encounter with the mathematician, they were back to where they'd started. To make matters worse, ahead of them lay the cold and snowy lands of the tundra. Not a very nice place for Trebhum, who are not meant to live in the cold. They would have to push forward against all odds and pray that they could find help. With this new pair of eyes, the Trebhum felt, well, to be perfectly honest, they felt rather silly. But despite that, the voice in their minds told them, with these eyes they could learn much about the creatures they encountered. The voice was glad about this. It was knowledgeable in the manner of animals, and now it could contribute its wisdom to their memories. This time, the Trebhum knew what they were feeling. Here was another servant of the cylinder. But what shape would this creature's evil take? It did not seem interested in the Trebhum. The servant of the cylinder had released a swarm. Small parasites had come from within it and attached themselves to the creatures in this area. It was somehow using them to corrupt the tower. to turn its protective force into a trap. All Trebhum hate parasites by nature, and they hated these even more. They would have to remove them. But how? place made the Trebhum uncomfortable. It felt like a place of desperation, where terrible, bitter things had happened a long, long time ago. There was something strange about this new body, the Trebhum thought. It was powerful, but also a little frightening. They now had the ability to mix ingredients in order to create projectiles with which they could attack other creatures. This new power might be necessary for their survival, but they would have to make sure to use it carefully, so they would never become as cruel as the servants of the cylinder. The strangely named evil giant was back. What was he hunting for? What monstrosities would he summon this time? The Trebhum needed to protect themselves against the creature's terrible light. Perhaps something nearby could help. The Trebhum found themselves gathering around a mysterious projection. They seemed to think it was an elder. "This is a recording pool," the projection said. "I left this message here to help you. I have discovered the recipe to permanently imbue my body with the power of this mutation and protect it from the evil light of our enemies. You must learn to use this formula, as I did long before you, or you will never gain enough strength to continue our people's struggle." The Trebhum thanked the apparition, never knowing that it couldn't hear them. As the Trebhum prepared to leave the cave, the apparition spoke one final time. "If you are lost and wandering helplessly across the land, look to the sky and seek a celestial serpent. You will know them by their many tails, which hang down from the clouds as the serpents contemplate the matters of the heavens. These serpents guard the way to the wisest of our kind, who can guide you to salvation." The Trebhum thought of asking the apparition to join them, but before they could, it had faded away. Like the voice in their minds, it was only a memory. The ingredients required for the impervious mutation were all here. But stealing an Onkyford egg was easier said than done. And cracking one open was even harder. The Trebhum had stolen the Ockifert egg, but cracking its thick shell was proving difficult. Perhaps the answer lay in the mighty jaws of the fearsome Omnigrom. someone had heard the Trebham's prayers after all. If there was a flying serpent in this place, there might also be a temple and an elder to guide them. in their memories, the Trebhum carried a fragment of knowledge about this temple. It had once been a place of learning, where wise Trebhum came to study the crystals, but the memory was incomplete. elder was sad to hear the story of the Trebhum and their failed journey behind the cylinder. You have been through so much. I wish I did not have to place even greater burdens upon you. But we Trebhum are not meant to live in this cold and cruel place. You must continue your voyage. You must cross the waters and reach the ancient lands of the desert. There lies the only hope for our people. You see, we Trebhum once had the means to sing to the stars and build vessels that allowed us to dance in the heavens. Seek one of these floating palaces. They may be the key to finding salvation in these times of despair. Farewell, brave little ones. May we meet again someday in another world. The projection shared a recipe with the Trebhum, one which could protect them from the light of the cylinder's servants. The apparition spoke to the Trebhum. "Do not leave this cave without extracting its riches," it said. "The walls hide valuable minerals necessary for our recipes and other important matters." Now, while the common Trebhum has no way of processing them, our crafty ancestors created a mutation capable of performing such a task. The apparition faded, and the Trebhum was sad. It was almost like losing one of their elders. What was this peculiar creature? It did not resemble the servants of the cylinder, but somehow it seemed oddly menacing. And what was that thing pulsating beneath it? A heart? Something in the Trebham's ancient memories made them apprehensive. It looked as if the heart was beating slowly, and the creature was asleep. Could it be that the cold was keeping the creature frozen in this strange slumber? Beware, the voice in their memories cried out. The mathematician has been summoned. This place was no longer safe. The voice in their memories cried out, "The mathematician has been summoned." This place was no longer safe. As the Trebhum continued their voyage to the desert, they felt a strange sense of being observed. But this was not the cruel gaze of the cylinder and its servants. No, it was almost as if someone was trying to help them, laying out a path for them to find. The voice in their memories encouraged them to go forward. Was this a ruin? Some part of an old temple? No, not quite. the Trebhum walked into a trap? Was their journey over? What was this place? Were the Trebhum dead? If so, this was a very odd afterlife. Perhaps this strange elder could tell them what was going on. But before they could ask, the elder spoke. The celestial Trofala have seen your journey, and I have been told of your deeds. There's an old bond between our people, Trebhum and Trofala. We once lived in harmony, but the invasion of our world has split us apart. If you do not know their song, the Trofala will not recognize you as a friend, so I am here to help you as much as I can. The floating palaces you seek lie ahead, as you were told, but they will be of no use to you unless you reclaim all the powers of our people, which the cylinder has stolen. There is only one way to do so, by entering the portal that links our world to the dreams of the Eternal Cylinder. The greatest of the Cylinder's servants, the Mathematician, is the gatekeeper. He absorbs that which is of value to the Cylinder, and his master has become intrigued by the crystals that the Trofala wear as crowns. Find these crystals and acquire the mutation which will allow you to appear as one of them. Thus, you will trick the Mathematician into granting you passage. And now I must return you to the land. There is little time. The Trofala are being hunted, and only few are left. May you succeed in your quest for all our sakes. The Trebhum were beginning to understand that there was more to this journey than mere survival. So far they had acted only for themselves, but now they had been entrusted with a task that would affect many others. And although that was frightening, the knowledge that they were acting for the greater good gave them strength. The Trebhum were beginning to understand that there was more to this journey than mere survival. So far they had acted only for themselves, but now they had been entrusted with a task that would affect many others. And although that was frightening, the knowledge that they were acting for the greater good gave them strength. The projection shared a recipe with the Trebhum, one which could protect them from the light of the cylinder's servants. Yes, these were the crystals that the Trawala used as crowns. The Trebhum wondered what secret powers they hid. But there was little time to think about such things, as soon the mathematician would make his terrible entrance. Where was the ingredient that would transform their skin into crystal? It had to be nearby. There it was, the unifier. Now the Trebhum would have to be brave and clever and find a way of defeating this dreadful creature so they could claim the ingredient they needed to transform themselves. There it was, the Unifier. Now the Trebhum would have to be brave and clever and find a way of defeating this dreadful creature so they could claim the ingredient they needed to transform themselves. Triangle-shaped objects that had fallen from the Unifier's head must be the ingredients the Trebhum needed for the mutation. Now that the Trebhum had transformed themselves, they would need to find the largest crystal formation in the area. That would be their best chance at tricking the mathematician into absorbing them. Once again, the Trebhum had returned to the strange place in the giant's dreams. There were more mysteries to uncover, more memories to take back. The voice seemed even stronger now. Yes, I can almost speak. Let me tell you your story. The song of your people is rich and beautiful. Before the cylinder came, each generation passed on its memories to the next. And so you learned to avoid repeating your mistakes. Slowly, you discovered the secrets of your world. You built great cities full of wonders. And then you sang to the stars to find others like you to share in the joys of existence. When you sang to the stars, there were many who heard you and raised their voices in song. Most are gone now, save for the Trawala, your oldest friends. When we heard your song, it was already too late for us. The cylinder was upon us, and there was nothing we could do. But we are not that different from you. We are also not strong or fast, and we don't have sharp teeth, but we are stubborn. The cylinder creates its minions from pieces of what it absorbs. So we found a way to help you. All of us together, these fragments of my people, the memories of your ancestors, and what's left of all those others who shared our fate. A conspiracy of ghosts to sabotage the cylinder and give you a chance. There is more to be found, memories to be reclaimed, and what you need in order to... But our fragments are fading, being absorbed. These moments of strength are rare. I am only... But the voice could not continue. Once more, it was only a memory. Was this artificial island on the horizon? Could it be what the Trebhum had been told to search for? Could their adventure be nearing an end? With the knowledge they had gained, all they now needed to do was to catch a specific kind of fish, which would allow them to acquire the wonderful ability to swim without ever getting tired. resting on the island. However, they quickly realized he was not well. The elder told them, "What a pleasant surprise to find a group of such brave little adventurers. Oh, I'm glad to see your faces before my end. I'm sorry to tell you that this structure will not ascend on its own. I was hoping someone might bring the lenses that power this palace before the cylinder came, but as I can see, you do not know of what I speak, and this is simply not to be. But fear not, there are other palaces in the waters of this great desert, and resting in the golden dunes of these marvelous plains, you will find the hidden treasures that can awaken and lift to their majestic heights the Trebhum palaces that were once the pride of our people. Swim over to the other side and seek the Trawala that guards my brother's temple. He will explain what you must do. I wish you luck. Know that my spirit will dance and sing when you succeed where I have failed." Trebhum sensed that something was roaming the desert, something that did not belong there. No doubt the Eternal Cylinder had once again sent forth its cruel servants. Perhaps it had taken notice of the Trebhum and was seeking to stop them from accomplishing their goals.
thank you for watching these videos. I hope you loved it. And thank you for all subscribing.
Thanks for watching!